I had a couple questions where I wanted to take a step back, and you guys have both spent a lot of your career in DoD IT, but to talk about where have there been philosophical shifts over the last, you mentioned 4 or 5 years. What are the things that are possible now, or that are talked about now, where even a couple of years ago it seemed like, hey, this is never going to come to reality, because I think so much of what happens, particularly in DoD IT, is one, there's a comparison to the private world, to the commercial world, where it feels very, very different. And also, I think there's maybe turn of the screw sometimes improvement. So I wanted to hear from you both, where you think there have been these big shifts in thinking compared to where we were, certainly pre-pandemic, but maybe even a few years before that.
So, yeah, I think there's at least two big ones that I'll highlight. So one is the transition from net-centric to data-centric, right? So we're moving from our notion of operating within a large perimeter network defense model. We're moving now to zero trust. We're moving to now manage data as a first-class citizen within the environment. So that, I think that's been a major shift in how we as the department are approaching where do we need to be from an overall perspective, and what does that enable from a JADC2 perspective, where we're now starting to say, as we focus on data and zero trust and interoperability, we can now achieve much greater interoperability, much greater synchronization and collaboration across not just the U.S. military forces, but with our partners and allies as we move forward. So that's been a tremendous shift. I think if we look at how we're organizing to deliver those capabilities, in the past, we focused on acquisition of products or systems, acquisition of things, and now the focus is on not the end state, but the means of production, right? So we're focusing on software factories, platform engineering, the cloud components. So how do we start to build these common platforms that enable continuous update, continuous response to cyber threats, continuous delivery of new innovation capabilities? So fundamentally, the focus is, we don't care so much about contract, deliver a system that's going to be in place for multiple years. We are now engaging with our industry partners, where we're starting to build out together the supply chains, the continuous integration, continuous delivery platforms as combined assets, as critical first-class citizens within this future environment, that are enabling us now to deliver ongoing continuous enhancements into those production environments. So we're seeing this whole blending of development and production into a single environment supported by software factory ecosystem that's given us this tremendous agility to move forward.
The discussion about build versus buy has been very, very prevalent lately, and I'm a very big proponent of buying. Like, why am I reinventing something industry already has in place that we can take advantage and leverage? And so that discussion, I'm happy to see. A lot of people are trying to more adopt it. There's still a lot of how do we make sure it still is secure to the standards that we have? So I try and encourage industry to understand our requirements of those kinds of things while they are developing or building early, so that they can meet the needs of the government, as well as the availability and the resiliency and all of those things too, if they want to work in our space. But I see industry is eager to do that as well. So there's a lot of symbiosis, I guess, happening between the commercial and the government, to the benefit of the government, that we can just use this now instead of waiting 20 years for a similar something to be built, which then industry is going to be 20 years ahead of us, because we're only building requirements to what exists today, especially in the software or the IT space.
Catch the rest of that conversation and more of the conference at c4isrnet.com/video.